When evening's purple shadows turn to gloom and darkness, dread, superstition, and fear of the unknown linger. Underneath the shadows of a conscious world, in a deserted corner of your mind, sits an abandoned theater with only one seat. Please, come in. We've been expecting you. The show's about to begin. Open the eyes of your imagination and focus on the flickering screen of your own reality. It's there. There, see it? It's our latest episode of The Night Shift, presented by the Sioux Empire Community Theater. It is a packed courtroom. The crush of reporters are elbow to elbow. The gallery is stuffed with gawkers, and of course, the family of the victims are there as well. But the members of the jury have no eyes for any of this. They are focused with fascinated horror on the defendant who is now being cross-examined.
And you are Howard Bailey.
That's what my driver's license says.
The defendant will please answer yes or no to the question.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Mr. Bailey, this is a court of law. You will abide by its rules and decorum, or you will be, so help me God, bound and gagged and tied to that chair with only a head-nodding yes or no to answer. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, counsel.
This is Exhibit A. Do you recognize this axe, Mr. Bailey?
Yep.
It was purchased a week before the crime at a hardware store 2 blocks from your home.
Shop local, I say.
So it's yours.
Used to be, now you got it.
Does this scene look familiar, Mr. Bailey?
Objection. Graphic photographs of the scene are unduly prejudicial to the jury, Your Honor.
Your Honor! It's a murder scene. Its graphic nature are merely facts of the case which by necessity must be brought forth if the jury is to make a sound and a reasonable...
Yes, you've made your point, counsel. Objection overruled.
Now then, Mr. Bailey, about the picture.
Whew, it's nasty. Nasty work. Never seen those photos till now. Look at all the blood.
And you recognize the victims.
Well, now that looks like little Janie. And that must be little blonde-haired Jacob. And the baby twins. Aw, look at them. Of course, you could never tell them apart before they were cut like that. Ah, and there's their ma and pa. Well, pieces of them.
And do you know who killed them, Mr. Bailey?
Well, I did. Yes, sirree. And it was powerful, loud, and messy.
Order! Order!
For God's sake, don't you have any regrets?
Well, sure. I wish I didn't get caught. And I wish I had more time with Ma and little Jane.
Order! With the jury's verdict of guilty on all 6 counts of murder in the first degree, and considering the heinous nature of the crime, I hereby sentence you to the maximum security penal center for the incorrigibly criminal.
No, hold on there, Judge.
Where you will be processed.
You didn't tell me that could happen.
Remained.
That place is a hellhole.
And confined.
You can't do that.
For the rest of your natural life.
You can't put me in the colony.
And on a personal note, Mr. Bailey, I can't think of a better place for you to rot.
You can't do that. Wait, I changed my mind. I didn't do it. I was framed. Please, not the colony. Not the colony. Not the colony.
A packed courtroom, a vicious killer, and a sentence that turns his blood cold. But what exactly is the colony? To find out, we'll need the nose and instincts of a hard-boiled beat reporter named Jake Jacobson, and Act 2 of our Night Shift Theater episode of The Colony, coming up next.
Hey there, this is Jordan Deffenbaugh, the educational coordinator for the Sioux Empire Community Theater. And I just wanted to let you know, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. Also, if you wanted to support the community theater right now in these challenging times, you can do it without spending a dime. This is how you do it. Just go to www.ourmayberry.com. And Mayberry spelt like from the Andy Griffith Show, the town of Mayberry. So our, MAYBERRY.com. So you go there, click join, and click on the Sioux Empire Community Theater campaign and register as a supporter. It's completely free. As local businesses register their support, you can make purchases from them knowing that a percentage of the sale will go to the community theater. It's a win-win-win. Remember, go to ourmayberry.com, click join, and register your support for our campaign. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to Act 2 of our night shift theater drama, The Colony. Our scene opens in the smoke-filled office of the Metropolitan Globe, a daily newspaper whose job of reporting on the seedier side of the city's populace has left a telltale film of grime and pessimism as thick as the smoke in the room. Dilapidated desks are jammed together. Jangling phones and hard-bitten voices add to the din. But this is not my story. It's the story of seasoned reporter Jake Jacobson, and we had better let him tell it.
The name's Jacobson. I write for the Globe. I got a first name I don't use much, so the paper calls me Jake. The coppers call me things I can't print, and the dames, they don't call me at all. You see, when you follow a crime beat, the news sticks to you like stink on 3-day-old garbage. When I'm not working, I knit doilies for the Ladies' Aid Society and pal around with the governor. But when I am working, which is every stinking hour of every lousy day, I'm doing what I'm doing now. Beating leather up and down the back alleys and smoke-filled back rooms. Working a story. Sniffing out a lead, picking up rocks, and seeing what kind of bug comes crawling out. And today I got a doozy.
Jake?
Your dime, pal.
It's Jimmy from City Hall.
Yeah?
Say, what's the biggest secret going that's got tighter lips than a Puritan at a lime-eating contest?
I ain't a quiz master, Jimmy. Spill.
You knows that Senator Johnson, what heads up the Judicial Oversight Committee?
Yeah?
I'm in the elevator at the Regal downtown, and I hear him arguing with a guy about letting some air into a hush-hush secret.
Keep talking.
Like he's thinking a little of the free press might make sure this gig's the real deal, not a smokescreen. You following me? And he's thinking no one knows who he is, right? Thinking he can be talking about a big secret without giving any details. Thinking he's safe that a guy like me can't put 2 and 2 together.
You're talking, Jimmy, but nothing's getting through, you see.
So being that I know he's chair of the Senate committee in charge of overlooking the prison system, I start to think the prison with the biggest secrets to keep has got to be
the colony. Holy cow, Jimmy, you saying there's talk about letting someone from the press find out more about the colony?
That's what I'm saying.
Jimmy, I'd buy you a bottle of single malt scotch. If this town wasn't dry, if I had the dough, and if your leather liver would know the difference.
Yeah. Well, I owe you one. So let's just call it even, huh?
Flimsy? You bet it was. But I've landed bigger fish on smaller bait, so I grabbed my hat and trench coat and beat it down to the cab stand. Downtown and dropped the foot. I handed the cabbie a 5, grabbed onto the seat with both hands, my mind spinning faster than the wheels on the cab. The colony. Me, like every other reporter with a pulse, had been trying to beat down the doors of that headline, and all I got was bloody knuckles. All I know is, when the crime wave got too deep and the prisoners started washing out of prisons meaner and smarter than when they went in, some brain somewhere hatched this idea of an escape-proof prison. Next thing we know, somebody high up leaks that a ton of dough has been skimmed off the top for building this super safe, super tough, super secret prison. All the rest of it is just rumor, but there are 2 facts that any copy boy or 2-bit huckster can tell you. Fact 1, no one ever wants to get a sentence to the colony. Because fact 2, no one ever comes back. Thanks, pal. Keep the change. If Jimmy was right, That meant that the powers that be were, as we speak, picking just who might be invited to this dance. And because I ain't the most glamorous dancer, I knew my best shot was to butt my ugly mug in line first. I figured my best shot was to hang out by the commissioner's office, since the senator and him were thicker than thieves and slicker than snakes in a sewer pipe. I knew my hunch was right, because no sooner was I around the corner when...
Jake, what are you doing here?
Well, what do you know? If it ain't Sylvia Saunders from the Daily Register, what's a class dame like you hanging out here for?
Cut the soap, Jake. You know why we were invited. I'm surprised to see you is all.
Oh, that cuts, Dollface. That cuts deep. Oh, who else you know is coming?
Not sure, and don't care. In fact, I'm not sure I want to be here myself. Whenever I see Humpty and Dumpty together, I get a queasy feeling in my stomach.
You mean our illustrious Senator Wilson and Commissioner Delgado? I suppose you could say they're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, and that cloth is cheap, loud, and a little bit greasy.
Miss Saunders, thank you for coming. Follow me, please, and,
Jake Jacobson from the Globe. Hey, Commissioner Delgado, mind if I tag along?
Yeah, I do, Jacobson. This is a private party.
And I'm a private guy. People love me at small, intimate get-togethers, on account of my witty repartee. Tell you what, let me join your little cozy group, and I'll keep it just between us. Or, if I hurry, I can run back to the Globe and just make the deadline. His eyes got narrow like an ape puzzling over 1 + 1. But even a genius like him could see I had him over a barrel.
All right, Wiseacre, get in here. But you're standing in the corner and keeping your trap shut.
Oh, my feelings are hurt.
Good morning, miss. Hey, what's he doing here?
I knew I should have worn a better suit. Hey, Senator, the name's Jake. I think we met before. His beady eyes went cold. We exchanged sneers for a couple of seconds while he tried to think of something clever and biting.
You...
He was as slow as a slug and twice as slimy, but today I needed him to cooperate, so I put on my nice face. Hey, Senator, the people got a right to know, huh? I'm just here to get some facts, maybe help our poor readers understand you hard-working servants of the people.
Cut the crapola, Jacobson. We'll find out just how you got wind of this later, but for now, you're here. You're the joker what got dealt into this hand, so for now... we'll just play it out.
The story? The real story is out there a ways. This is just background stuff. Off the record.
What about my exclusive?
That ended the minute you saw my lovable mug, Sylvia. Whatever you got is halvesies now. But I wouldn't worry, a high society gal like you probably draws a higher standard of readership.
Jake, I'd call you a rat, but you'd take it as a compliment.
I'll pipe down. You two want this story or what?
Dish it out. Slow. My friend from the Globe likes one-syllable words.
So much for colleagues in the press. I bit my tongue, kept my nice face on, and turned my soulful, trusting gaze to the senator.
The real name is the Maximum Security Penal Center for the Incorrigibly Criminal, sometimes called MaxCorp, mostly called...
The colony. So this is about the colony.
Shut up and listen.
Quiet, Delgado. He'll be squirming soon enough. Truth is, Jacobson, you've been a thorn in my side for years, but I almost feel sorry for you on this one. The story you finally deserve.
I ain't afraid of blowback. And if you're trying to push me into soft soap and the real deal, then...
Oh, that's rich.
What's so funny?
You don't know.
What?
Oh, you'll get the whole story about the colony, Jake.
You're going to tell me what I want.
Better than that, wise guy.
We don't gotta tell you anything.
Because you're going there.
What the hell is going on?
Listen, Jake, you wanted halvesies. You should have found out more before you bit.
Well, dish, dollface. Those cackling hyenas back there gave me the creeps.
They approached me a couple of months ago. Said a lawsuit from the Social Organization for Human Rights had brought some heat. Said the transport of criminal to a secret and unregulated location was against human rights. To which, shortly after, a countersuit was filed by an outfit called People for a Safe Society, saying to open the colony would be against everyone's rights. So mediation stepped in, said a small contingent from the press could investigate and report to the world what it saw, as long as the location was kept secret.
And that means a free ride to hell. Well, it's a story of a century, that's for sure. Why you?
'Cause they wanted the best. They called me and Lawrence Hacker from the Writers Syndicate.
That bum, he couldn't write a recipe. What'd they tag him for?
Oh, calm down. He got one whiff of the trail and suddenly got sick. So they got 2 tickets and only 1 taker, and then you waltz in. Looks like you luck out again, if you're game.
Nuts. This is a story I've been waiting for. I'll call down to the editor's desk.
No copping to the scoop, or they'll shut down the cruise.
No, I'm going to tell him that I got to visit an aunt that got sick.
Listen to me, Jake. Are you sure about this?
Sure am. Why?
'Cause I'm not. I know it's a big one, maybe the biggest scoop I'll ever get. But you know what they say about a woman's intuition?
Yeah?
Well, mine's been screaming her head off about this trip to the colony.
What about it?
She thinks it's a one-way ticket.
What happens when you add 2 seasoned reporters, 1 story of the century, and a suspicious travel itinerary? We'll add it all up for you in Act 3 of tonight's drama, The Colony, next.
Hey, it's Jordan. Just wanted to check in if you're enjoying our production, and I hope you are. And if you would like to ensure that we can continue to revive the radio play art form, then please consider making a donation via our website, www.siouxfallstheater.com, and go to the 120 Club. That's up in our menu bar. You click that, and you just see the 120 Club, and then you click that. And then you will be given the option to pay in a recurring $10 a month. That's $10. The way I look at it, it's like a ticket, because we are bringing theater to the community. We're bringing theater into your home. So if you can, right now, visit www.siouxfallstheater.com, go to the 120 Club, and make a donation. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
You've heard the saying, may the punishment fit the crime. But what if the crime is so heinous, so evil, that no punishment seems worthy? Well, it seems there is a new secret prison that has solved the problem. It's called the Colony. And 2 reporters, Jake Jacobson and Sylvia Saunders, have agreed to a tour. It should be a time of triumph, hooking the story of the century. But as Act 3 opens, Jake Jacobson, as hard-bitten and cynical as he is, cannot shake the feeling of dread.
I did it. I talked a line to my editor that neither of us believed, but he knew better than to ask. As simple as jumping off a bridge. Well, it wasn't quite that easy or simple, but it was close. It took about 18 hours to clear my assignments, pack a suitcase, and get the papers I needed to board the ship. No holdups, no questions, just a sick feeling in my gut that I was falling down a garbage chute with no way out. I can't tell you the name of the ship I boarded because I was blindfolded. I can't tell you the name of the 2 slabs of beef that escorted me into my cabin because they weren't wearing any name tags. If there was a shuffleboard tournament, I never heard about it, and the only grub I ate was passed through a slot in the door, which was locked. If you're ever looking for a cruise ship, I can't recommend it. Okay, I'm a reporter, you know that. My job is simple. I ask questions. The questions get answered. I keep doing this until I figure out what the story is. Pretty simple, except none of that happened. I spent 7 days getting claustrophobia and angry. No one answered my shouts, curses, threats, or pleas for mercy. Just 3 meals a day through a slot in the steel hatchway of a door and some crummy music piped through a steel speaker in the ceiling. All right, so here's what I do know. The cabin, or cell more like it, is steel built into the bulkhead of the ship. There's no porthole, and the only way I can tell the time is by the food, which ain't bad if you don't mind eating institutional food off a tin tray. The room is a little bit bigger than my outstretched arms and gray. The toilet and wash bin are gray with matching gray stains. The bunk is hard and gray with a gray blanket. There's a single bare light bulb in the gray ceiling, and I swear to God, even the light it gives is gray. I got me, my typewriter and suitcase, my little gray thoughts, and only one little piece of insurance that I managed to smuggle on board, a snub-nosed 38. And yeah, it's gray too.
Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Jacobs.
Yeah, what is it?
The captain would like to speak with you if you're available.
Captain who?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't divulge that.
Well, what's he want to speak to me about?
Again, I can't divulge that information either.
Well, can you divulge why the hell I've been cooped up here 7 days without so much as a peep? Why this hatch is always locked with a couple of meat bookends sitting outside of it, just in case I gnaw my way out?
Excuse me, sir. What did you say?
I said fine. The corridor was long and gray. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. With bare light bulbs every 20 feet and hatchways and bulkheads every 40. Tweedledum was in front of me and Tweedledummer behind me. I figured between the three of us we weighed 1,000 pounds and had an IQ of 130. Hey, Beefy, where are we going?
Yeah, shut up.
Okay, but my travel agent's going to hear about this. I don't suppose you've seen Miss Saunders maybe at the racket court?
Shut up.
Okay, well...
Let go of me, you bird brain!
Well, hey, speak of the devil. Hey, Sylvia, I see you got your own pair of trained monkeys.
Jake! Oh boy, I never thought I'd be so glad to see you.
Now, dollface, better take your arms off me or the brain trust here might get jealous.
Careful, pal. I wouldn't want a nice reporter like you falling or nothing.
Hey, okay, let go. Oh, okay, all right, I get the point. You're concerned about my safety.
Here we are, buddy, right in here. Watch your step.
Gentlemen, no need to be harsh. We don't want our guests to get the wrong impression. You are Mr. Jacobson, and you must be Miss Saunders. I do apologize for our inhospitable treatment, but I assure you it was all for a reason. Please, sit down. Let me explain.
The room was nice. The words were pleasant, but they made the hair on the back of my neck stick up. I'll start with the eyes. They were very light blue, almost white, with small dead spots in the middle of each where the warmth and personality were supposed to be. He was fit and pale, like maybe he worked out in a cave every day. His smile was wide, bright, and very predatory. And his movements were very fluid, hypnotic even. I felt like a mouse staring into the eyes of a cobra. A lot of times I'll crack wise even when I shouldn't, but this time I just sat down very carefully, my eyes never leaving his, and waited.
My name's Joseph Nikolai, the Director of Inmate Integration at the Colony. As such, my duties include the care and safety of all passengers on this vessel. Although I am not the ship's pilot, I am, for purposes of the chain of command, her captain, and your guide on this tour.
Captain Nikolai, perhaps you could start by answering a question. Why a 7-day quarantine with no communication, no explanation, no nothing?
Most unfortunate, though as I said earlier, unavoidable. Perhaps we should start with a quick overview for the thinking behind my idea for the colony.
So what is your idea?
Without being falsely modest, yes. From inception to completion to successful implementation, all the theories, planning, organization, everything is mine.
Keep talking.
Perhaps I'll start with a question. Miss Saunders, what do you think is the purpose of a prison?
Punishment, retribution, I guess, and some sort of rehabilitation.
Excellent! The idea of making someone pay for their crimes, either by literally extracting labor or money from the criminal, also evening the scales of justice too, perhaps. You stole my car, so society will steal 4 years of your life. But here is the real question. What do you do with someone who simply is not sorry for what they have done?
Well, a stint in the slammer fixes that.
No, Mr. Jacobson, not always. It can and does make them sorry that they got caught, but does it make them sorry for the crime they committed? In many cases, no. It only serves to make them angrier, harder, and perhaps even more determined.
A hard-boiled con.
Hard-boiled, excellent term. Far too many times, a small segment of the prison population exert force and dominance on the other convicts, infecting them, as it were, with the pestilence of violence and incorrigibility. But what if you could remove this segment from the population?
It's been tried.
And what has happened, Mr. Jacobson?
It don't work. They riot, kill guards, escape.
Until now.
With your colony.
With my colony, yes. Since its inception, there have been no escapes, no injured guards.
And riots?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Mr. Jacobson, if you heard of a prison that had no escape attempts and where the guards were perfectly safe, what would you think?
Well, that it was some kind of resort.
And that would bother you?
You're darn right it would. Some psycho kills a guy and spends the rest of his life in a country club? What's fair about that?
Yes, precisely. So especially for this small group of incorrigibles, the murderers, morally bankrupt, punishment is important, correct?
Sure, I guess.
And that is the third goal that has been met with complete success at the colony. Number 1, no escape. Number 2, complete safety for the guards. Number 3, sufficient and continual punishment for the prisoners.
How do you do that?
Well, let's start with one of our new prisoners, shall we? On board, we currently have 175 convicted criminals bound for the colony. For the past 7 days, we have been working on the first stage of their incarceration. For safety purposes, I would ask that you do not distract the interview or ask any questions of your own at this point. Are we clear? Good. Thomas, bring in prisoner number 82.
The guy they brought in looked empty. He was big, all right, and tough-looking, fully shackled and cuffed, but he had no swagger or defiance. He just had that kind of vaguely disturbed look you get sometimes when you wake up from a bad dream.
Hello, my name is Captain Nikolai. Could you tell us what your name is?
John Smith.
How are you, John Smith?
Fine.
How do you feel?
Okay.
Now think, Mr. Smith, really. Tell me what you are feeling now.
Not so good.
How?
Tense. Scared. Maybe a little angry.
Why?
I'm not sure.
Do you feel guilty or ashamed of anything?
Yeah.
And what is that?
I'm not sure.
If someone attacked you, would you defend yourself?
Yes.
If you felt threatened, would you attack them first?
Yes.
And one more question, Mr. Smith. Do you remember the town you grew up in?
No. Should I?
Don't worry, Mr. Smith. We'll help you remember everything. You may take him to his cabin now, Thomas.
What happened to him?
The simple answer is that his treatment is progressing on schedule.
His treatment?
Oh, come now. Surely you figured out the key to our success on the colony. Think now, Miss Saunders. Why would a prisoner not try to escape?
When they don't know they are prisoners.
Excellent.
You brainwashed them.
I hate that term. We have merely, for the past 7 days or so, altered their perceptions of the life that they have lived.
Come on, if a guy doesn't know he's a convict, what's he going to think when he sees a guard tower?
Miss Saunders, can you help your colleague?
You've hidden the bars.
Yes, again, excellent, Miss Saunders.
You mean the prison and the guards are invisible? What kind of Shangri-La is that?
The worst kind, as you'll soon see, Mr. Jacobson.
This is a load of malarkey, Nikolai. Why don't we wind things back? And let me start asking some questions. How come you keep the colony location a secret?
For obvious reasons, we don't want the curious thrill seekers or busybodies to disturb the equilibrium of the prison.
You can't hide a bunch of prisoners forever.
But we have so far. A number of years ago, we located a small, desolate rock far away from population centers and shipping lanes. A climate harsh enough to ensure it is definitely not, as you say, Shangri-La.
And then what?
Well, that's it. Oh, we still have to finish our indoctrination program for Mr. Smith and the rest. Memories, neighborhoods, towns, childhoods, etc. But other than that, we set them loose.
You set them free?
No. We set them loose. They will never be free. Trust me.
What do you mean?
Did you hear, Mr. Smith? His is a ticking time bomb, angry, afraid, guilt-ridden. How soon before he lashes out at another prisoner?
So that's how you punish them?
Yes, with each other.
And the guards?
Just stay out of the way. Oh, once in a while, a small group will work out its differences, and a sort of peaceable community will form. The guards will step in and quietly return the group to chaos.
They keep the unpeace.
I gotta admit, it makes a weird kind of sense.
And the cost?
A fraction of the cost of typical incarceration.
Why wouldn't they try to leave?
They have no idea that anything else exists. As far as they know, it's just them.
And they stay there?
For the rest of their lives.
I still think a guy could learn to be okay there.
Yes, Mr. Jacobson, yes. And now you finally see the true scope of our punishment matrix.
You're talking gibberish.
Remember, when things are hopeless, truly hopeless, pain and punishment can only go so far. But as long as there is hope, punishment can continue, even grow.
I don't get it.
Perhaps an example, a story. Do you remember the trial of Howard Bailey's, 15 to 20 years ago?
Hatchet Howard. Whew. He was a sicko.
He killed a whole family with an axe and laughed about it during the trial.
Yes, he's the one. Well, as you may remember, he was taken to the colony after sentencing. Like Mr. Smith, he was left with a name and a vague sense of fear and guilt. But like many, he sought hope, freedom. He met another prisoner, a woman. They married, had a family, 3 children, 2 boys, and a little girl. They seemed happy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. A guard found out. They always do. And when the time was right, another prisoner who was desperately unhappy was, introduced, as it were, into their neighborhood.
Oh, no.
He killed him?
Just the children. With a butcher knife. Now Mr. Bailey knows, truly knows about punishment.
But innocent children were killed.
Yes. As they say, the sins of the father are visited on the sons.
That's barbaric.
No, Mr. Jacobson, that's justice. And as any victim of a crime knows, when the colony is the punishment, justice will be served.
And you're sending us into that?
In about 3 days.
With no protection?
Well, you will be invisible, as it were, blending in with the population, an observer to the punishment that the prisoners serve out on each other.
How are we supposed to stay clear of all the random violence?
Well, you'll have to be careful. Miss Saunders, very careful.
Captain, the colony has been spotted.
Very good, Mr. Crosby. Stand off until we hear from the Harbor Authority.
Wait a minute, you sending us in there? Now? For how long?
Oh, I shouldn't imagined it would be too terribly long. New prisoners are landed every few years.
Few years?
Oh, Jake, I'm scared.
Good. Fear may be your best defense. But don't worry. Think of all the great information you'll get for your story. Oh, yes. Before I forget, Mr. Crosby.
Yes, Captain.
The guests will need their baggage stowed aboard the launch, and there's a weapon, a .38 caliber revolver, in Mr. Jacobson's cabin.
Yes.
Send it along with a few boxes of ammunition, compliments of the captain. I hope it's enough.
Aye, Captain.
Wait. Before you land us there, can we at least see it?
Why, certainly. Mr. Crosby, open port windows.
This place, this invisible prison. If these prisoners of the colony don't know they are in a prison, what exactly do they call it?
An excellent question. There it is. It's actually quite pretty from a distance. The colony is the third blue planet orbiting the star they call the Sun, on a place they refer to as Earth.
A friend of mine once told me he preferred watching prison movies more than any other. When I asked him why, he simply said, "To get advice." Tonight's Night Shift Theater presentation, The Colony, featured Chris Andrews as Jake Jacobson, Sue Martins as Sylvia Saunders, Clinton Storr as Joseph Napoli, Robin Byrne as the judge, Alex High as Howard Bailey, Mike Cutter as Delgado, Bob Euchre as Senator Wilson, Dick Cook as Jimmy. Audio mixing was done by Jesse Jensen, sound design and special effects by Jordan Deffenbaugh. The Colony was written, directed, and hosted by myself. On behalf of the Night Shift and the Sioux Empire Community Theater, I'm Jeff Gould. Good night. And be careful. Be very careful.